Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson, and welcome to Town Talk. Tonight, I would like to speak a little bit about myself. I do not have any guests this evening. I want to speak about my candidacy for the first selectman in the town of Oxford. I've been campaigning since last summer. I made this decision with much forethought and decided that it was time for me to run again. I was the first selectman in Oxford in 2001 to 2003. My first day in office, I was faced with the anthrax crisis that occurred in our small town. We lost a dear lady, 94 years old, named Atley Lundgren, and I was thrown into the spotlight with Oxford immediately and had to use my gut feelings and how I was going to lead the town through this type of thing. There were many people who were very fearful of where this anthrax came from. We didn't have a lot of the information. So that was my first day in office, and that was many years ago. Today I'm retired from the Yale University School of Medicine. I retired in 2012, and it's time for me, I feel, to run again. Oxford is a growing town. Economic development is right on the cusp. We expected it sooner than it's happening, but with the housing bubble and the issues in economics throughout the United States and the world, and the situation with banks that occurred, developers weren't ready yet to spend their money to start developing big projects. Right now, whoever is first selectman in the town of Oxford in November will be facing a huge boom in economic development. That is my belief. I want everyone to know that in July will be the beginning of the Republican and Democratic caucuses. They will occur sometime in late July. You should watch the legal notices in the Voices, and you can check other major newspapers also, but usually it's in the Voices as to the time and date of the caucuses. I am appealing to the Democrats in Oxford, the registered Democrats, to attend that caucus in July, because I am seeking the Democratic Party nomination for first selectman. And I need your vote in that room if you believe that I would make a first selectman for the town of Oxford. If I would be your candidate, I would expect that you would be at the caucus and give me your vote. I need your vote. Anyone who does believe that I can do a good job in leading Oxford, I need you at that caucus. I cannot count on the fact that I will be the Democratic Party candidate that is nominated. I expect that I might have to get my nomination from the floor, and then if that happens, I need enough votes at that caucus to win that nomination. I really don't want a primary, and I really don't want to become a petition candidate, although I do have enough names on a petition to be on the ballot. So I assure everyone that I will be on the ballot in November, and I will be urging people personally to attend the caucus, the Democratic caucus in July. What do I think about Oxford? My first instinct as a citizen, a voter, and a taxpayer is that I want my town safe. I want to focus on the firemen, the police, public works, and the ambulance. These are our first responders. These are the people that are going to be there if the citizens in Oxford have a disaster of any kind. And believe me, we faced one with the anthrax crisis, and you never know. The quality and tranquility of your life can change in a nanosecond, and you have to be prepared. Secondly, I want to be sure that and cognizant of the fact that there are many citizens now in Oxford, up in the over 55 communities, and of course there's an awful lot of us baby boomers in town. We are starting to age, where most of us, a lot of us are retiring, and we are on fixed incomes. And I will urge the Board of Finance to do what it has always done and be frugal. By the same token, I would warn and strongly warn the citizens that it can't be all about money. You cannot be penny wise and pound foolish. We have to think ahead. We can't just live in the moment. We have to anticipate what's coming. We can't put up off a school roof forever and then hope that it'll be cheaper when it's a disaster. We can't wait for a new school to be built for Center School and wait until the school is falling down so badly it almost isn't worth fixing. There are so many issues in town this way. The situation is this. We are a town meeting form of government. The citizens in this town can have anything they want or reject anything they don't want. They have to read the legal notices in the newspaper. They have to follow the politics in town, whether you like politics or you don't, because that's how towns run. And you have to attend town meetings where your voice is heard. If you get enough people at a town meeting on an issue, you can vote the issue forward or you can vote it down. By the time you get to the voting booth on a budget, that's already too late. You should have been at the town meeting, you should have been at the public hearing, and you should have been campaigning for what you want. I would urge everyone to pay attention to what happens in Oxford and vote, by all means vote. That essentially is my platform. I am also thinking very much about the power plant issue. I was against the power plant 15 years ago. I did everything in my power to stall it, and if I couldn't, make it as safe as possible. It was called a done deal then. It's being called a done deal now. I don't think it's necessarily a done deal. I think that if you don't believe that it's really a pollutant, nothing in this world to convince you of that it is probably won't work. If you're looking at the dollar signs that you see coming down the road, first it started at 6.5 million, then it jumped to 7 million, then we heard it was going to be in November. Now word on the street it's going to be in December. We don't know for sure. That's money we don't have. I would say that I'm going to just take a common sense approach. You're going to have a power plant in an area where there is a gas line, where there is a power line, where there is an airport, and soon to be the Masonic home. That is the perfect storm, in my opinion. I wouldn't lose heart. Everyone's calling it a done deal. Everyone's saying it's safe. Everybody's saying it's clean. It's still a fossil fuel. And I would urge everyone to call Senator Blumenthal's office if you are not for this power plant. And I would urge everyone to still write letters to the Siding Council. You can find those phone numbers on Stop Tuwanek Power Plant on Facebook and online. That's what I'm going to say about the power plant. I realize that I'm probably going to anger a lot of people that I took a solid stand again against the power plant, and I realize I could lose many votes. But I think that I have to think of Oxford first and its citizens. Money isn't everything, and that $7 million is going to be spent before you know it. And there's no guarantees the mill rates will go down that much. And then I worry about what's going to happen to our economic development. There may be people who don't feel that a town with a power plant in it is going to be fit their idea of country living. So that's a worry too. So I don't know. I think we're going to have a lot of trade-offs on that. I think I'm very well qualified to run for first selectman. I have already held the position. Not that you need to hold the position. I didn't. Most people who become first selectman have never held that position. But I've also held it, so I have the experience of understanding town government and understanding the town. I've lived in Oxford since 1976 with my husband Wayne. We raised our 2 children in Oxford, Richard and Robert. They went through the Oxford school system. I'm very happy to be in Oxford, and I love Oxford. It's my hometown. It's where I probably will end my life, and it's where I want to have a good life in Oxford, just like everyone else who came to our town seeking country living, seeking a rural character. I will fight my hardest to keep the last vestiges of the rural character Oxford still has. It's very hard to keep a growing town like Oxford as rural as a lot of us would like it. I think the final thing, and this is probably going to be a short program because I really believe that the shorter the better. I just don't want to bore people with this, but I want them to know something about me and that I am serious in running. Let's see, where was I? Let me get my train of thought here, folks, because I'm doing this extemporaneously, and there's no audience in front of me except you who are watching on television, and that is not an easy thing to do. Let me just speak from my heart. I think Oxford needs someone like me right now. I think they need a candidate who is not interested in winning an election, who is interested in the good for the town of Oxford, who is not going to pull Machiavellian tactics and anything goes to win an election. Case in point, I can't go into detail with this because it gets complicated, and honestly, I think you'd probably turn the TV off. Case in point, everyone wants to keep Oxford rural or keep Oxford green. Well, right now, I'm very worried about keeping Oxford green. We have no regulation called incentive/affordable housing. We depend on the zoning board in the town to make sure our town grows in an orderly fashion. And I have attended many zoning board meetings, and I have to say that the people on this zoning board are working very, very hard to do what's right for Oxford. The unfortunate thing is that when we lost the process to go forward with incentive housing, many people were scared or afraid that they were going to have a ghetto in town, that riffraff would move in and we would end up with a slum. That was a scare tactic. In fact, that was not the case. By not going forward with incentive housing, by the Republican administration being against it, by Keep Oxford Green being against it, we have left the town now wide open for high-density housing under the 8-30G regulations that developers have right now. Have no problem with developers. They own their land. They have every right to develop it. And they have every right to go before the zoning board and offer a plan that is within our zoning regulations. But what I fear now is the very high density housing that everyone was afraid of now can happen in Oxford because we do not have incentive housing. It became an emotional issue that people misunderstood. I, for one, am not going to get extremely involved in zoning issues. They're very emotional. But I am concerned, and I will say to the zoning board, you have got to start looking at how we can protect the town from a sprawl and from the very type of housing we feared in the first place. I would say, in a way, that keeping Oxford green was not really keeping Oxford green. We were shooting ourselves in the foot. We were the very thing this town was trying to prevent is the very thing that opened the door. Now, I'm taking a very brave step toward discussing zoning issues. I won't discuss them much more except to say to the zoning board, please do your best in protecting Oxford so that we can keep the last vestiges of rural character. I'm gonna wrap this up now, and I'm going to say I covered as many things as I could think of at the moment. I like to speak and talk from my heart extemporaneously. It's the way I feel the most comfortable with. I also use my hands a lot. I'm half Italian, half Greek. I can't help it. Just want to say that I am looking for your vote at the caucus in July. I need that vote. I want to be on the Democrat Party line. I want to have every chance in the world to be your first selectman if that's what you, the voter, wants, if you believe in me. I'm asking you for your confidence, for your vote. I'm asking you to believe in me and understand that I do have Oxford's best interest at heart. And I will move forward and do what's right for Oxford, Connecticut. I'm going to say to my producer, Wayne Johnson, who's my husband, and Fred, Floatin' Fred in the back, who is my person for sound, and my son, Robert, who is my assistant producer, that your mom has decided to stop being long-winded, and I'm going to say goodbye to all of you out there from Town Talk. This is Kathy Johnson. Good evening, and I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.